video on something that I just want to have a play around with. So I want to make a salami stroke sausage that's just 100% pure fat. So, and my idea is that we make things like lardo, which is cured back fat from a pig. But like, why don't we make like cured sausages made of just lard? You know, because to make lardo you need a piece of a solid bit of back fat. But you that's I was thinking that's kind of quite difficult to get hold of without having to buy a joint to kind of go with it. And I didn't really want to have to, you know, if I'm cooking pork, people kind of want the fat on it. Yeah, but anyway, so I was kind of thinking, let's have a go at making a salami, which is just 100% pure fat. So I've minced the fat already. I've been making bacon, so it's the offcuts of fat from the pork belly. I did originally put it through on the medium size one. You can see that? That's the medium size one. But it was coming through a little bit too fine, so I wanted something a little bit more chunky. So I'll put it on the biggest cutter that I've got. There is about 660 grams worth of fat there. And then we're going to put in 3% of the weight of salt, and I'm going to put in some pepper as well. The pepper will help it cure and also kind of keep away bacteria and bugs, and obviously we'll give some flavour as well. Yeah, and also I want to add that we did a pizza tour the other day, me and my sister and my brother-in-law, and we went to 3 different restaurants and had 3 different pizzas in each. Not a pizza each, but shared a pizza in each one, and then voted on the best pizza. And the last pizza that we had was andouille, and it came with little peppers as well, and it was lovely. But the andouille, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, it tasted a little bit funky, as in like it had been matured, and it was just on the edge of being a little bit too funky. It was delicious though. So I was kind of, it made me kind of think that this will kind of hopefully kind of work, and we'll get like a funky kind of flavour of fat, which we can add into things rather than just rendering down fat and using it like lard. So I rendered some of the fat down from the bacon, well, the bacon process. I had the ribs off it from the dinner last night, so there was some fat that came out of it, and we kind of get that. I mean, that's what you do with fat. You render it down, and then you use it in other things. But if we had like a cured fat that we could use, like lardo, but in the form of a sausage salami, then that would be kind of quite nice. And the casings are something that I've had in the freezer for a while, and I kind of thought, well, let's see if we can use the casings from frozen, and if they'll do kind of the same process. Because obviously, to make things like salamis from frozen pork that's been defrosted doesn't work, but hopefully these casings will still kind of work. They'll probably be in the freezer for a year, which is terrible, but you know. So salt into there, and then we need to mix it around, and then we need to kind of work kind of quite quickly, because the salt will start wanting to cure the fat. And then I'll need to clean my hands. So if you think of, for every 100 grams you need about 3 grams worth of salt. I want some more pepper in than that. Yeah, it needs some more pepper. So I quickly need to wash my hands without making a mess of my pepper mill. So let's quickly just get that gunk off there. Yeah, it wants some more pepper in. So let's get the gunk off my hands and put some more pepper in, and we'll just pour. Have I got a clean finger? No. I'll have to edit this bit out, which I don't really do editing. I think I'm much more a fan of just cracking on with things. So we'll pause, and we're back when we've got that seasoned and put into the sausage maker. Right, we should be ready to go. So I've pushed a little bit through already, so it's at the start there. So let's just tie that end off. I can't, oh, do you know, it's been so long since I've made some salamis. on choritos and sausages that you'll have to forgive me if this just doesn't go according just to plan. So we kind of need to be careful, but let's hope it's like riding a bike, eh? That's alright, so it's coming through. If we just hold it, it'll... Yeah, that's it. So if we just carefully hold it there, it wants to just get a little bit fatter. And pushing more mixture through at the same time, so it's a little bit awkward. And I'm cooking something at the back of the stove as well, but that seems to be coming through alright. I don't know how many sausages we'll get out of this, but if you're not aware, my videos are mostly me faffing around with ideas, because no one really seems to make videos about things I'm really interested in. Although the videos I watch are made by people who I find interesting, even though I'm not particularly interested about what they're talking about. I could follow a really interesting channel which takes things, he scraps things, you know, takes them to bits and then weighs in the scrap. I'm not really interested in weighing scrapping and getting some money out of that, but I find him interesting, and I think that's much more what I'm about, you know. So I think that's long enough for one. So I'm going to hang them up in the, what we call it, in the, so let's make that a little bit fatter. We might make the next one a bit fatter actually. So let's, how did we do this? I can't remember. Did we leave a long length? We did. So, leave a long length, tie that like that, there. No, not like that. Tie that there, close to the end of the sausage, like that. Could have done a better job than that. Let's do that again. Let's not. Let's. And this is when my videos are too long because it's me failing forwards. No, it's gone in the same place. It'll be fine. Right, so then we use this length to tie onto that one there. So we tie around the knot at the other end, underneath the knot, like there, like that, and then again like that. I hope you saw what I did there. So I've tied the knot underneath the knot at the other end, and then we can tie it up in the fridge like that. So we'll need to poke some holes in that, just some pinpricks, just so as the liquid wants to come out of the fat, because it's not 100% fat, there will be some liquid in there, some water. So the salt's going to, I don't know the word, but the salt will push that liquid out of the sausage. So we need to make some holes which will allow liquid to evaporate, and it will then start to cure, because it's almost like a sealed, the sausage skins are breathable, but you want them to be able to breathe a little bit more, so we just need to poke some holes in, and then we'll hang it up in the fridge and we'll see what happens to it. And I'll do a fatter one, but I'll hang them up in the fridge and you can see what they're hung up like in the fridge. But what I normally do is I normally get something like a spoon and hang them like that in the fridge, so underneath a shelf, you know, just something like that, just so that the air's circulating and it's not touching anything. If it touches anything, the danger is that that's where it's going to go off. But anyway, so we'll carry on and we'll see what happens. hung up. There they are, hung up in the fridge. As you can see, just like that. So they've gone over a bit of wood. It's just a bit of a stain on the bit of wood, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a bit of a stain. That's nothing to worry about. So, just hung up in the fridge. So bar goes across, and then you can kind of throw the sausages on. Easiest kind of way to do it in my eyes. So I think kind of quite quickly we'll be able to tell if that's worked and if they've started kind of quite curing, and then it'll just be a case of leaving them to see how long it takes to turn into like a salami type looking type of thing, but white instead of red. So these are the fat sausages, and they've been drying in the fridge, well, top of the fridge where the fan is, for about a month, maybe just slightly over. So they're firmed up a little bit, but that might just be because the fat was at room temperature when we made them, and then when we put them in the fridge, obviously it cooled them down. So I should have weighed them, see if we lost any kind of moisture, shouldn't I? But you know. So what we're going to do with them? How do they smell? They smell fine. Smell fine. So that one looks a little bit more dried out than the others. Let's cut into that one with my blunt knife, and let's see what they're like. And then we might just fry one and see what's happened to it. So we should probably cook it rather than eat it raw. It smells alright. It's not like, there's no rancid smell to it or anything like that, and that pork wouldn't have lasted in the fridge if we'd have just left it without seasoning it and put it in a sausage skin. It wouldn't have lasted a month. That smells alright. Let's cook it. I don't want to work it tomorrow. I don't want to kill myself. Well, or be a little bit poorly. So, but let's just fry a little bit off and see what kind of happens. Just out of interest. We'll leave that one like that. And we'll put that in there, in the skin, and then we'll kind of see how they... I could do a bit more actually. Let's cook a bit more, and then we'll decide. It's gonna, I mean, it's fat, so it's gonna melt more than anything. I just don't want to put too little in the pan. But it's certainly not gone like a salami, but it's not gone off or anything like that, so that's at least interesting. So we'll cook these and we'll see what happens. Right, so as predicted, the little pate, it's just all the lard is just rendering out of it all, so there's lots of lard. So those have kind of got a little bit crispy and are cooked all the way through, so we can give those a taste. And we can give a little bit of this lard a taste as well. So that's kind of squishing out and rendering. We can do that chefy thing where we baste the sausages in fat, can't we? And pretend we're working in fancy kitchens again. So that's rendering out. I don't know what practical applications this has. I don't think it probably has any. But what it does do, it shows us that we can extend the life of some fat. But how does it taste? It tastes disgusting. It's gone rancid. It's not surprisingly good. That's surprisingly good. Because essentially it is seasoned pork fat, which we've given a bit of age to. So of course it's going to taste better. That's delicious. But I am a fan of fatty things. So, what are my thoughts? It's not going to go like a salami. To eat something like that is, you're not going to want to do it. I wouldn't want to do it, and I do like fatty things. But to save some fat and use it to enrich some dishes without having to render it, and kind of keep a pot of lard. So you don't have to do that. I suppose it's just another way of you could enrich a dish with them. So you could, if you're making like a casserole or a casserole, you could stick one of those fat sausages in, and it would add a lot of really kind of quite nice fat to it. But it didn't go like a chorizo or anything like that. I did think it would dry out like a chorizo or a salami. I did kind of think it would take on that kind of texture, like the fat does in a chorizo or a salami or something along that type of thing. But an interesting experiment all the same. Yeah, and it's probably spurred me on to have a think about maybe. Sorry, I'm rubbing my face and covering my mouth when I'm trying to talk. It's probably made me think that I really should probably try and do some lardo. But anyway, an interesting experiment all the same, and I found it interesting. Therefore, it's a